My name is Spring Duffy and I work for the McHenry Lake County Soil and Water Conservation District. And today I'm going to be talking to you about soil erosion and also the importance of soils. And to do that, we're going to use an apple to demonstrate the world. Now, what we're going to do with the world is we're going to tear it apart. We're going to throw away all the places where we can't grow our food, and we're going to see what's actually left, where we can grow our crops. And I mean our main crops that we grow, especially around here in McHenry County. We grow a lot of corn, soybeans, wheat, oats. Hopefully everybody knows what those look like, okay? So first thing, we're going to look at the earth, and we're going to try to throw away the biggest pieces first, and that would be our oceans. So how much of the world is covered by oceans? It's about 75%, or 3/4. Now, I've never seen a farmer plant corn in the oceans, so we'll go ahead and throw that away. And when we throw away that 3/4, it looks something like this. So those are our oceans. Now, the 1/4 we have left represents land masses on Earth. But just because it's land, it doesn't mean it's suitable to grow our crops. One of the areas that we have a hard time growing our crops in would be our polar ice cap region. So that's that area around the North and South poles. And the reason why we do not grow our food there is because the soil is what we call permafrost, which means it's permanently frozen for most of the year. Maybe those top few inches may thaw out and you'll get a few plants to grow, but it's not a long enough growing season for our crops that we grow around here. Another place we would have a hard time growing our food in would be our mountains. And that's because they tend to be very rocky and they have thin soils. It takes special plants to be able to grow in that type of soil. Our corn and soybeans like to be able to stretch their roots out in the soil, and they can't do that in the mountains. Also, mountains are very steep. You see some of these tractors around here in McHenry County. These big tractors, you have these big planters. Could you imagine that farmer driving up something like this? He's probably going to tumble down and have a really bad day. Another place that we have a hard time growing our food in would be the deserts. And a lot of times I ask kids, why would that be? And they say because there's no soil. Well, there's actually soil in the desert. But what's missing is the water. And the water is what the plants need to grow and cycle their nutrients. So when we get rid of all the polar ice caps, our mountains, and our deserts, what we're going to do is cut this piece in half and throw half of it away. Now this half we're left with, we still cannot grow food in all this. I'm standing on concrete right now. So if I put some corn seeds down, are they going to start growing? How about at your school? If I put some seeds in the hallway of your school, will they grow? What about your parents? Are they going to be happy tonight if I show up in your living room with a tractor? No, so we need to get rid of all those places where we live and work because we're not growing our food there. And when we do that, out of this piece, we're going to throw away a piece that's about this big. Now, would I be able to grow corn in the Kishwaukee River? How about Wonder Lake, the actual lake? Obviously not. It's going to be too wet. So we need to get rid of all of our lakes, rivers, streams, and wetlands, and all those little wet spots around the world. And again, when we do that, we're going to throw away a piece about this big. Now, what do you call something that's pretty steep, but it's not quite a mountain? It's a hill, right? And in McHenry County, we have lots of hills scattered around. And some of those hills are very hard for farmers to farm because those soils, again, are rocky like the mountains. So those roots are not able to reach down into the soil. And also, again, it's very hard for those farmers to get their equipment into those types of soils. So we get rid of all those poor, rocky, steep soils around the world. Again, we're going to throw away a piece about this big. What we're left with is this piece right here. Now, can we grow crops in all this piece? It's kind of a trick question. We cannot grow in the center of the earth, right? That is called the core. We grow things on the crust or the outside of the earth. So we need to peel off that crust. So it's kind of like peeling off that apple peel. So I have a fake little peel in my hand, and this is where we grow our food. Out of that whole earth that we started with, this is where we grow most of the food we eat. So it's very important that we protect that soil so that the whole world has enough to eat. And one of the ways that we lose this soil is through something called soil erosion. And soil erosion is when wind, water, ice, usually in the form of glaciers, moves our soil from its original spot someplace else. What we're going to demonstrate next is how the water moves that soil with our soil erosion model here on the table. So for this demonstration, I do need an assistant. So I'm going to ask my assistant, little Ryan, to come help me. Ryan, can you please come over? Hi guys, this is Ryan. Ryan, wave.
I did.
Okay. So our model contains two different sides. We have spare soil on this side, and we have soil covered with grass over here. And it's on a slope, or a hill so that all the water is going to drain off. And we're going to catch it in cups, and we're going to look at the differences between the two sides. So Ryan, can you please put a cup underneath the soil side? Now I'm going to pour about 3 seconds of water onto the soil. 1, 2, 3. What do you notice about that water coming off of there? It came off pretty fast, didn't it? And also it's pretty dirty. Kind of looks like chocolate milk, although this is not chocolate milk you'd want to drink. Now let's look at the grass side. So Ryan, can you hold it under the grass? Again, we're going to pour about 3 seconds of water. So 1, 2, 3. What do you notice about this side? Has it even come out yet? We're going to pour a little bit more. Sometimes it needs a little more water. It takes a while. There it comes. So obviously this side is a lot slower. And also compared to this side, it's also going to be a lot cleaner. Thank you, Ryan. We'll just let it drip for a while. So why do you think the water takes a lot longer for it to go through this side than it does this side? It's because of the grass, right? The grass is kind of like a maze. So if you're in a corn maze, you're weaving your way back and forth trying to find your way out. Here, the water is weaving back and forth through the grass trying to find its way to the cup. So it takes a lot longer. It slows it down. Now, why do you think this side is cleaner? That's because that grass, again, is acting like a blanket. And that blanket protects that soil. So the water runs on top of the grass and doesn't really get down into that soil underneath. The water that does make it into the soil runs into the roots of the grass. And the roots act like claws, and they grab hold of that soil and hold it very, very tight and make it hard for the water to carry it away. Now this is important because at the bottom of our hills is where we have all of our lakes, our rivers, our streams, and our wetlands. And if we have bare soil and it rains a lot, that soil is coming into those areas, okay? Now if you're a fish living in a lake and this is coming in on you day after day, are you gonna live very long? Fish breathe by using their gills, right? Well, this will clog up their gills, so they're not gonna live very long. If you're a green plant in that lake, are you gonna live very long? Green plants make their food through photosynthesis. This actually blocks out the sun. It's like sunglasses. So that sunlight's not getting into that, down to that plant, and that plant's not able to make its food, so it's not going to live long either. So soil is very good for growing things, but when it ends up in lakes and streams, it's actually a type of pollution. And our farmers, they want to use their soil. So they make sure that they keep their soil covered as much as possible. So you'll see lots of what we call cover crops after they've harvested their normal crop that are covering the soil during the winter time to hold that soil in place. Also, you'll see a lot of farmers that'll leave the leaves and stalks of, let's say, the corn on the field all winter long. And those leaves and stalks are acting like that blanket that's protecting the soil. So it's very important to protect that soil because remember what we had here? Just this little teeny piece. And that's all we have to feed the world. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your time at Ag Day.